This is crazy.
Well, we're live, so that stinks.
That does kind of stink. Come back to us, Deborah. Can you hear me, Leah?
I can. She's gone. I swear, this show for some reason so many difficult.
I
figure this. Figure out how to cope with this. Positive healing coping mechanism.
You're kind of breaking up on my end, but Miss Deborah, are you back? Should we start? Deborah.
You fun. Hello. Oh wow, she can't hear us.
Oh, she's gone. Can you hear me, Leah?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's rock it. Let's just start. Right. Hopefully, she'll pop back in.
She popped. Thinking, what are your, before I even thought positive, what are your negative mechanisms? Like, what is it you do when you're stressed and you just got to do something for yourself? Negatively, what do you do?
I can tell you what I do.
What do you do?
If you see me walking around with chocolate or coffee in my hand, like a really large coffee, just know to stay clear for a little bit because that is my stress relief. So those can be two of my go-tos. Or it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if I am super stressed or super overwhelmed, I will be like, nap time. I need like 10 minutes to close my eyes and get out of my own head, right? So those are three of my own coping mechanisms that I'm well aware of. I'm trying to break the chocolate one and the caffeine as much, and I'll tell you why when we kind of dig into why I think that's not so great. But what are yours?
So my negative mechanisms are like most to go, mostly eat. Junk, it's either sugar and or like carby type stuff, which is funny coming from a health coach, but that's my negative one. And I know when I do something like that, things are really, really bad. The other thing I'll do is go to the mall or go shopping and spend money on things that I do not need.
Yes, retail therapy.
Third, well, yeah, it is, but I'm like, it's not always the smart thing to do financially.
Right.
And then drinking wine, that's my other one. So if you're doing those three negative coping mechanisms all the time, you get fat and you're broke.
True. Fat and broke is bad. You will be more stressed.
Exactly. We're from there, right? So what are positive coping mechanisms instead of those negative ones? What works for you to kind of calm yourself?
So I have kind of found taking a step back, doing like some breathing exercises really can kind of recenter me. I will go and do just maybe 10 minutes of just yoga and stretching and breathing just to kind of get my wits back about me because you can't really be stressed and crazy feeling when you're doing that deep breathing. That's what I found. It relaxes you. It's almost going right to like your nervous system and calming you down. So I try to reach for something like that. I love, especially when it's nice out, going outside and taking a walk. That's like my thing. And I will put on a book that I like on my audiobook or whatever and just go do me for a little bit,
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I do that exact same thing. In fact, I just did it last night. This is my favorite time of year. I love the smells and I love just the crispness in the air. And last night I had been working and I was just kind of stressed out and, I wanted to go to my negative coping mechanisms. And I thought, you know what, it is so gorgeous out right now. So I just stuck my head outside and looked at the stars and just kind of breathed in the air. I'll either do that or I'll go for a long walk with my favorite tunes and just kind of get out of my head for a second. And usually, that will kind of minimize and take away the stress for a little bit so that I don't turn to the negative coping mechanism. So I totally agree. That's a good one.
Yeah. Hey, are you back with us, Deborah?
Yes, I'm sorry I'm joining late. I know I'm rocking the kitty ears because I'm having some audio issues. So these are my kitty speakers from my daughter's lovely computer. And I apologize for coming in late. I was just having the technical difficulties. And I hear that we said we're going to discuss our coping mechanisms. And the reason I brought it up at all was I read an article the other day about the silent killer in any relationship. And when I read it, it made sense. It was totally applicable to relationships, but I also really thought long and hard that it's really the silent suicide as well, because in any relationship, everyone says what fails a relationship is trust, money, communication. Those things need to be great or else your relationship's going to fail. And in fact, the number one silent killer of relationships is unmet expectations. And I kept thinking about that, and I'm like, it's not just in a relationship, it's actually within ourselves. When, for example, you're starting a new choice for new diet, new nutrition, you're going through and you're taking some new regimens for your skin, and things are not necessarily working out in the time frame you wanted, that unmet expectation, you then go to your coping mechanisms. And that's your relationship with yourself. And that coping mechanism is either going to sabotage you and continue down that silent, unmet expectation suicide path, or it's going to boost you. Like you were saying, Leah's going to go out there, she's going to walk under the stars, she's going to pop her head out, she's going to focus on what makes her happy. But it's so stereotypically built into us to cope with things negatively. We've all seen that show where the woman gets the Ben and Jerry's tub of whatever ice cream, or they pull out that wine bottle and they got the cocktail glasses out. And I'm not saying don't have a cocktail or eat ice cream. I'm saying don't go there for when you're dealing with an unmet expectation. You've worked your butt off and your boss didn't give you that promotion you were hoping for. Well, don't sabotage yourself some more. And for myself, I've done it. We've all done it. I am completely guilty of it. I have had the whole taste bud carnival way of dealing with an unmet expectation, but I have found I hated myself more afterwards. And so trying to focus on the things that make me happy to take me out of that negative space I'm already in because my expectation wasn't met makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'll share with you guys a couple of things that I kind of just routinely say with my clients, because I know that we all do this, and a lot of it can be kind of that hand-to-mouth, like stress relief thing. And, a lot of us get done with our day. We've been stressed out. We want to just chill out, grab a TV, a movie, some popcorn, something good, chocolatey sweet, right? Give us that serotonin boost. And I try to tell my clients, skincare-wise, that I'm always fighting anti-aging and acne and everything on both levels. So when they're coping with their sugar, they're really like destroying their skin and they don't realize it, right? So I give them a visual. I'm like, every time you go to take that big chocolate, I'm like, think about that wrinkle. You're helping that wrinkle. So our skin totally goes through different things when we consume all this sugar. And I'm just going to walk you through it really quickly so you kind of can have this visual with me too. But we go through this process of advanced glycation when we take in the sugar. And what that does is that goes and our body is producing that and it attaches to the collagen and the elastin in our skin, and it starts to harden it and break it down over time. So as we're eating this sugar and all this crap that we think is making us feel good at the moment, we're actually aging ourselves internally, externally. We're sending ourselves through these insulin spikes and ups and downs, which is, just like Leah, approaching everything from an internal standpoint. You're going to wake up the next morning and feel worse because now you've had an insulin rush, right, from the night before, from your little binge, and your skin's going to feel it, your mind, your body, everything. So I tend to tell people, try to break those. Go find something that's good for yourself. You're going to love yourself in 20 years when you break that habit because you're going to look better than everybody, and that's my goal for my clients. So not ashamed to say it. But, approaching everything from an internal, like holistic skincare is just that. It's approaching the issues, not just addressing the symptoms with a cream. And that stress level and your coping mechanisms, that stress ages you too. So all the whole package. If you're interested in more information, you can always reach out to me, but that is my approach. that's holistic skincare.
And it's funny because my husband and I, and you, Leah, probably know a lot about this too, because this is what you do. You do nutrition. But we were discussing last night the evilness of sugar. I mean, literally,
it is.
It truly is. And like the experiment where the rats were put on cocaine and addicted to cocaine and were given the choice between cocaine and sugar, and the rats chose sugar every time. And the industry is completely unregulated, because if you look at your nutrition labels, you see that percentage of your daily value, and sugar is never given as a percentage because you're not supposed to eat this crap ever.
And it's not just the sugar, it's all the hidden sugars, right, Leah? It's like the carbs that go into sugars, the MSGs that spike your insulin. Like, you're fighting it on such a big level. Or even fruits, right? You even told me about fruits, how that's too much fruits. Not a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. You eat too much sugar, that affects everything. And then, you can't even, if you're just coping with sugar all the time, you're not going to be able to control yourself for the reasons you just said, Deborah. It is like cocaine to us. Mm-hmm. So if you've got to soothe yourself somehow, try to do it not with food, not with alcohol, not with caffeine. Do it with something that allows you to be distracted in a way, or more mindful of what's going on. One of my favorite things to do is to just, besides going out and getting fresh air and being in nature, is to go take a bath. I mean, it sounds silly when we hear it, but when people actually take the time to do it, women love it. Get in the bath, get your favorite music on, like just go inside yourself and just kind of just address what's going on, instead of turning to sugar and carbs and all that good stuff.
One of my biggest things that I like to tell people I work with and my other troop sisters and members is you have two choices when you're dealing with an unmet expectation. You can either get into yourself or you can get out of yourself. Either of those things, though, are experience-based coping mechanisms. They're not a feeding coping mechanism with food. So getting into yourself is, like Leah's saying, get in the bath, put some incense on, put some music on that you enjoy, really start meditating and internalizing. Another way is go get that yoga class, go back to your yoga class and really breathe through your movement, or get out of yourself and totally, completely, and do something else that's really empowering. Like, I don't know, challenge yourself to go and skydive or something. Look for something that's an adrenaline rush that boosts you, that's a natural thing. It's coming from inside of you, rather than taking that food and putting it into you, hoping it's going to deal with something when it's not. So getting into yourself or getting out of yourself are the best ways to deal with an unmet expectation and coping with something in a more healthy way.
Yeah, or go talk to somebody about it. Like you were saying earlier, that it's, not being able to cope can be a death of a relationship. Talking about it. I mean, if instead of turning to food or instead of turning to something negative, find somebody that you can talk to, that you can trust, and just get it out there. Just, run it by somebody, or figure out how you're going to talk to that person that you're having the issues with. Sometimes it's just as simple as that, figuring out how to cope by communicating and getting out there.
Exactly. Trusting yourself to actually process this, and trusting your instinct with your relationship that it will get through this. And whether that's just a professional relationship with a boss or whatever, but if it's with a significant other, you have to make those decisions to cope and deal and get through this.
Definitely.
So if you have out there any questions about ways that you can cope and deal, or if you're looking specifically for a routine, whether it's a regimen for your skin or a nutritional regimen with Leah, or even a movement-based regimen with me, contact us. We would love to hear from you. But really think about your coping mechanisms and challenge yourself to adjust them in a healthier way, so that you are enjoying your life and you're being, beautiful inside and out, and not just existing, but truly living in the moment. So want to hear about that? Give us some comments, let us know, and we'll come back at you next week on Monday at noon.
Have a
right, ladies?
Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.